everyone to another beautiful week. This is your boy David Oni. Today we're going to look at something different, something extraordinary, something dynamic, something that will uplift you academically. So today we're going to look at what we call delegated legislation. In this topic, we're going to look at the definition of delegated legislation. We're going to look at the reasons. We're going to look at the controls, and then we're going to look at what we call types of delegated legislation. Now, let us quickly define what is delegated legislation. By delegated legislation, we refer to those laws made by persons or bodies to whom Parliament has delegated lawmaking authority. Now, as a result of the complexities of government, the dynamism of government, it has become very impossible for government to carry out its numerous, a lot of functions by themselves. So there's a need for them to actually delegate this authority to some body of people. So this process of delegating this authority to some body of people or persons or parastatals or corporations or other government bodies is what we refer to as delegated legislation. So delegated legislation can also be defined as the laws or rules or regulations made by other bodies than the legislature, but they are sanctioned by the legislature. And what do we mean by the legislature? That is the body, that is the arm of government that is responsible for law making. So the complexity of the nature of governmental activities have made it difficult for the legislature to oversee and to make all laws in the country. So delegated legislation becomes imperative or very indispensable. So in order to facilitate the lawmaking process, the legislature delegate parts of its lawmaking functions to some corporations or ministries under the government or local government. And these laws that are made by these extra parliamentary bodies is what we refer to as what as delegated legislation. So the lawmaking arm of the government is actually the legislature. So they make rules and regulations. But however, because of the commonness of the nature of government activities, it becomes very difficult for them because they have onerous responsibilities, they have a lot of duties to perform. So for that reason, there's a need for them to actually, delegate some of these responsibilities to some other people. So that is delegated legislation. Now let us now quickly look at what we call the reasons. What are the reasons, for delegated legislation? Because in the exam, they may actually ask you, what are the reasons for delegated legislation? Number one is it is used to avoid rigidity. Rigidity. So one of the reasons is to avoid rigidity. Then number two, because it will help to bring the government nearer to the people. It will help to bring the government nearer to the people. Then it's also used to reduce the workload of the government. The workload of the government. That's number three reasons why delegated legislation is actually used. Then it can also be used in a period of emergency. In a period of emergency because of its flexibility. It can be used in a period of emergency because of its flexibility. Then it's also used to meet unforeseen and contingent matters in the country. There are some unforeseen and contingent matters in the country that delegated legislation will actually take care of. So we have actually mentioned five reasons why you can actually use what we call delegated legislation. Then it's also used to facilitate the lawmaking process. It's also used to facilitate the lawmaking process. Now, before we move forward, we want to encourage our numerous, viewers out there. We want to please appeal to you to actually, follow our page on Facebook and on YouTube. We are appealing to you, telling you, we are appealing that you can follow us on Facebook, and the Facebook and the YouTube page is actually the same thing. It's actually David Onewis. David Onewis. So please follow that channel on Facebook and on YouTube. It is there for you. So you can watch so many of my videos in these channels. There are over 120 something videos on YouTube that is there for you to watch on divergent and different topics. So now let us quickly look at types of what we call types of delegated legislation. Now, first one is what we call the order in council. The order in council. The order in council. The order there is ORDER. ORDER. In council is COUNCIL. That is order in council. Now, what do we mean by order in council? They are they are authorities delegated to the British Queen or the King, to issue, to issue orders on certain matters. So they are also referred to as they are also referred to as prerogative order, and they are ratified by the Privy Council. So the Council actually advise the Crown on governmental matters. That is the first one. So it's called the order in council. Then we have what we call the bylaw. That is the second one, the bylaw. Now, there are rules and regulations made by local government, public corporations, and other similar bodies for smooth running of government, of governmental responsibility. So they only affect, or they are only effective within the jurisdiction of the authorities that would actually make them. So that is the bylaw. There also have what we call statutory instruments. Statutory instrument. Now, they are orders of rules issued by by ministers or commissioners based on the authority conferred on them by the Act of Parliament. Now, what's an Act of Parliament? The Act of Parliament is a process of what of making laws. So they are called ministerial or departmental order. That is three now. We have mentioned the order in council. We have mentioned the bylaw. We have mentioned what we call statutory instrument. Then we also have what we call warrants. The fourth one is what we call warrants. Now, search warrant to suspected persons and bench warrant for high court are part of what of a delegated legislation. What do I mean by warrant? The court can issue a warrant for somebody to be searched, and the court can also issue what we call a bench warrant for somebody to appear in a court of law. So this aspect are what we call the warrant under government. They are called warrants under the government. So, and then we also have what we call special procedures, special procedural orders, or you can call it special procedure orders. They confer special authority, on local government as authorized by parliamentary act. They are made on strictly limited scope and do not require confirmation bill. And and when they are presented to the parliament, the order comes into force automatically after 14 days in the absence of resolution or cancellation by the house, or based on on the petition. So that one is called a special procedure. Then we also have what we call provisional orders. These are orders conferring powers on individual authorities or bodies made by by a minister or authorized by parliamentary act, and they are provisional because they must be confirmed by the parliament. They must be confirmed by the parliament. Now let us look at what we call the advantages. What are the advantages of a delegated legislation? Number one is what we call time saving. It is time saving. It saves a lot of time. Then number two, it is good for a period of emergency. So in a period where you have emergency, you can actually use what we call delegated legislation. Then number three is that it is very, very flexible. It is very flexible. Then number four, it allows what we call experimentation. Experimentation. Then another one is that it brings the government nearer to the people. Then it saves costs. That's another advantage. It saves costs. Then another one is that it reduces the workload of the government. It reduces the workload of the government. Then another one is that it is easy to understand. Now, before we proceed, you want to appeal again. If you have not actually subscribed to our channel, please go and subscribe or follow our channel on Facebook or on the YouTube. Now, what are the disadvantages? Number one is that it is prone to abuse. Delegated legislation is prone to abuse. Number two, there's lack of effective control. It lacks what we call effective control. Then we also have what we call vetapism or bureaucracy. Now, what do we mean by vetapism? When you talk about vetapism and bureaucracy, it's the same thing. Before rules are made, it has to go through various offices before they can become a law. So when you talk about vetapism is can be found in the civil service. In the civil service, where where document has to go from one office to another before finally it is being signed and it becomes effective. So that process is what we call red tapism. So red tapism wastes a lot of time. It wastes a lot of time because it's a protocol that must be followed under governmental establishment. Then encouragement of dictatorship is another factor. Encouragement of dictatorship. The another one is that it is undemocratic. It's undemocratic. The other one is that there is insufficient consultation before those authorities are actually confirmed and they're actually what acted upon. So insufficient consultation. Then there's what we call inadequate publicity. That's another factor or or demerit of what of a delegated decision. Inadequate publicity. Then we also have violation of the rule of law. If you check my subsequent lectures, I actually dealt on what we call the rule of law. And under the rule of law, I said that the rule of law is the supremacy of the law over everybody, both the government and the governed. So what the rule of law is saying is that everybody is actually what equal in the what in under the law. The law does not make anybody a sacred cow, and nobody is actually above the law. So no matter your position in society, everybody is equal before the law. Though, then let us now look at what we call the control of delegated legislation. If delegated legislation is not controlled, there is every possibility that there is going to be abused. So I'm going to quickly list some of these controls. We have what we call parliamentary control. Parliamentary control. They also have what we call committee on statutory instruments. Committee on statutory instruments. They also have what we call public outcry. Sometimes when most of these, rules and regulations do not favor members of the public, there's always what a public outcry to condemn such a thing. So government can look into it and what and actually make some amendment as regards to such a delegated legislation. So we also have ministerial accountability. Ministerial accountability. Ministers are also what held responsible on the floor of the parliament to defend most of these delegated legislation. They also have what we call judicial control. Judicial control. The judiciary can review and can declare the act of what of delegated legislation as ultra vires or null and void or against the constitution of the land. So there's also what we call judicial control. They also have what we call financial control. We also have what we call press criticisms. The press actually criticize or subject delegated legislation to constructive, subjective, and also objective criticisms. So it's one of the mechanism or fact that is being used to control what we call delegated legislation. They also have what we call public inquiry. So all these are what are method or ways of controlling what we call delegated legislation. I'll quickly go over them again. We have what we call parliamentary, we have what we call public inquiry, we have what we call press criticisms, we have what we call public outcry, we also have what we call committee on statutory instrument, we also have what we call ministerial accountability, then we also have what we call judicial control and also financial control. So I believe today you have actually gained something on delegated legislation. So if you have any further question as regard to delegated legislation, the floor is actually open. You can send me a message on Facebook, on YouTube, on this question, and I'll be glad to answer them. And don't forget also, you can make your comment on how to actually serve you better. Every day we are improving on our live streams and on our lectures on daily basis. So we'd like to hear from you. We want to hear from your feedbacks because it will help us a lot to actually give you the best. Then we also want to appeal that please, if you have not actually subscribed or follow us on Facebook or YouTube, you can do that right now. And don't forget to click on the notification button and to leave your comment so that whenever we come up with a live stream lectures or we upload the videos on lectures as regards to our project, you'll be one of the first person to be notified. So I remain your humble servant David Oni, and my YouTube channel is David Oni Wiz. You can actually go there please now and subscribe or follow us. And don't forget to leave your comment, click on the like button, and as we meet next time, thank you so much for your support. We really love you here. Thank you so much and goodbye.